Welcome to Easy Classic Stories. This is a retelling of The Little Mermaid, a novel by Hans Christian Andersen. The Little Mermaid is a famous story by Hans Christian Andersen. It's about a mermaid who wants to be human. She loves a prince and makes a big change to be with him. The story is very popular. Many people love it. It was so successful that it became a big part of culture. There are movies, plays, and books inspired by it. It's a classic tale that people enjoy around the world. Now listen carefully to the story. At the end, we'll have an exercise on key events to help test your understanding. Deep under the blue sea, there was a beautiful kingdom. This kingdom was full of mermaids and mermen. They lived in a grand palace made of shiny shells and bright corals. The youngest mermaid was very special. She loved to explore the sea and dreamed of the world above the water. The little mermaid had a secret. She loved a statue of a handsome prince. She found this statue in a shipwreck. The statue was so beautiful that she thought about the prince all the time. She wanted to know more about the human world and the prince. One day, the little mermaid swam up to the surface of the sea. She saw a big ship sailing on the water. On the ship, she saw the handsome prince. He was real, not just a statue. The little mermaid watched the prince from afar. She felt her heart beat faster. Suddenly, a big storm came. The ship broke into pieces. The prince fell into the sea. The little mermaid quickly swam to him. She saved the prince from drowning and brought him to the shore. She watched him until he woke up. Then she quietly swam back to her underwater kingdom. The little mermaid could not stop thinking about the prince. She wanted to be with him in the human world. But she knew that mermaids could not live on land. She felt sad and lonely. Every day, the little mermaid would visit her grandmother. Her grandmother told her stories about the human world. The little mermaid listened carefully. She learned that humans had something special called a soul. Mermaids did not have souls. They turned into sea foam when they died. The little mermaid wanted a soul more than anything. She wanted to be human and live with the prince. But she knew it was impossible. Mermaids could not become humans. One day, the little mermaid's sisters told her about the sea witch. The sea witch was powerful and could grant wishes. The little mermaid decided to visit the sea witch. She hoped the sea witch could help her become human. The little mermaid swam through dark waters to find the sea witch's cave. The cave was scary with strange creatures and bubbling potions. But the little mermaid was brave. She wanted to be with the prince more than anything. The little mermaid swam deeper and deeper into the dark sea. Finally, she reached the sea witch's cave. The cave was full of strange and scary things. There were bubbling pots and weird creatures everywhere. The little mermaid felt a bit afraid, but she was also very excited. The sea witch saw the little mermaid and smiled. "What do you want, little mermaid?" she asked. The little mermaid took a deep breath. "I want to become human," she said. "I want to live in the human world and be with the prince." The sea witch laughed. "That is a big wish," she said. "But I can help you. I have a magic potion. If you drink it, you will grow legs and walk on land. But there is a price." The little mermaid listened carefully. "What is the price?" she asked. "You must give me your beautiful voice," the sea witch said. "And if the prince does not fall in love with you, you will turn into sea foam and die." The little mermaid felt sad. She loved her voice. But she wanted to be with the prince more than anything. "I will do it," she said. The sea witch gave her the potion. It was dark and bubbly. The little mermaid drank it quickly. Suddenly she felt a sharp pain. Her tail split into 2 legs. She could stand and walk, but she could not sing or speak. The sea witch laughed again. "Remember, little mermaid," she said, "if the prince loves another, you will die." The little mermaid swam back to the surface. She felt happy and scared at the same time. She reached the shore and stepped onto the sand. Her new legs felt strange, but she could walk. She looked around and saw the prince's palace nearby. With a hopeful heart, the little mermaid walked towards the palace. She wanted to see the prince again. She wanted him to love her. But she knew it would be hard. She could not speak or sing to him. She could only hope that her love would be enough. The little mermaid walked towards the prince's palace. Her new legs felt strange, but she was excited. She wanted to see the prince again. She wanted him to love her. As she walked, she saw the prince on the beach. He was looking at the sea. He looked sad. The little mermaid walked closer to him. The prince saw her and smiled. "Who are you?" the prince asked. "You look familiar." The little mermaid wanted to tell him everything. She wanted to say, "I am the one who saved you from the sea." But she could not speak. She could only smile back at him. The prince took her hand. "Come with me," he said. "You can stay in the palace." The little mermaid felt happy. She went with the prince to the palace. The palace was beautiful with big rooms and shiny things. The little mermaid loved it. She loved being with the prince. Every day, the little mermaid spent time with the prince. They walked in the garden and danced in the ballroom. The prince was kind to her. He laughed and talked with her. But the little mermaid could not talk back. She could only listen and smile. The prince grew to love the little mermaid, but he loved her like a friend, not like a lover. The little mermaid felt sad. She wanted the prince to love her more than anything, but she could not tell him how she felt. One day the prince said, "I wish I could find the girl who saved me from the sea. I want to thank her." The little mermaid felt a pain in her heart. She wanted to say, "I am the one who saved you." But she could not speak. She could only look at the prince with sad eyes. The little mermaid tried to dance for the prince. She wanted to show him her love, but every step she took felt like knives in her feet. She danced anyway, hoping the prince would see her love. Days turned into weeks. The little mermaid spent more time with the prince. But she knew something was wrong. The prince still thought of the girl who saved him. He did not know it was her. The little mermaid felt her hope slipping away. One day, a big ship arrived at the palace. A beautiful princess from a faraway land stepped off the ship. The prince saw her and his eyes lit up. He thought she was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. The princess smiled at the prince. "I have heard so much about you," she said. "I am happy to meet you." The prince took her hand. "I am happy to meet you too," he said. The little mermaid watched from a distance. She felt a heavy weight in her heart. She knew the prince liked the princess very much. She felt sad and alone. The prince spent more time with the princess. They talked and laughed together. The little mermaid tried to join them, but she felt left out. She could not talk or sing. She could only watch as the prince fell in love with the princess. One day the prince came to the little mermaid. He looked happy but also a bit sad. "I have something to tell you," he said. "I am going to marry the princess. I love her very much." The little mermaid felt like her heart was breaking. She wanted to cry out, "But I love you! I saved you from the sea!" But she could not speak. She could only look at the prince with tears in her eyes. The prince saw her tears. "Do not be sad," he said. "You will always be my dear friend. I want you to be happy for me." The little mermaid tried to smile, but it was hard. She felt like her world was falling apart. The wedding day came. The palace was decorated with flowers and lights. Everyone was happy and excited. But the little mermaid felt only sadness. She watched as the prince and the princess stood together, ready to be married. The little mermaid knew she had lost her chance. The prince would never love her. She felt her hope slipping away. She remembered the sea witch's words. "If the prince loves another, you will turn into sea foam and die." As the prince and the princess said their vows, the little mermaid felt a cold chill. She knew her time was running out. She had to do something, but she did not know what. The little mermaid felt very sad. She knew the prince would never love her. She remembered the sea witch's words. "If the prince loves another, you will turn into sea foam and die." She felt scared and alone. One night, as the little mermaid sat by the sea, she saw her sisters swimming towards her. They looked worried. "We know what happened," they said. "We want to help you." The sisters gave her a sharp knife. "The sea witch told us a secret," they said. "If you kill the prince with this knife, you can become a mermaid again. You will not turn into sea foam." The little mermaid looked at the knife. She felt confused and scared. She loved the prince. She could not hurt him, but she also did not want to die. The little mermaid went to the prince's room. He was sleeping peacefully. She looked at him and felt her heart fill with love. She knew she could not hurt him. She loved him too much. She threw the knife into the sea. She knew she had made her choice. She would rather die than hurt the prince. The little mermaid felt a strange feeling. She looked down and saw her body turning into sea foam. She felt scared but also peaceful. She had done the right thing. Just as she was about to disappear, she saw bright lights in the sky. They were the daughters of the air. They were beautiful and kind. They floated down to her. "Do not be afraid," they said. "You have shown great love and kindness. You will not turn into sea foam. You will become like us." The little mermaid felt happy and relieved. She looked at the daughters of the air. "What will happen to me?" she asked. "You will float with us in the sky," they said. "You will do good deeds for 300 years. Then you will have an immortal soul, just like humans." The little mermaid smiled. She knew she had made the right choice. She had saved the prince and found a new life. She floated up into the sky with the daughters of the air, ready for her new journey. The little mermaid floated high in the sky with the daughters of the air. She felt light and free. She looked down at the world below. Everything seemed so small and far away. She knew she had a new life now. The daughters of the air were kind and gentle. They showed her how to float on the wind and how to help people. The little mermaid learned quickly. She wanted to do good deeds and earn her immortal soul. Every day, the little mermaid and the daughters of the air flew over the world. They helped people who were sad or in trouble. They brought happiness and hope wherever they went. The little mermaid felt happy knowing she was helping others. Sometimes the little mermaid thought about the prince. She missed him, but she knew she had done the right thing. She had saved him and found a new purpose in life. She was no longer just a mermaid. She was a spirit of the air, bringing joy and kindness to the world. One day, as they floated over a beautiful garden, the little mermaid saw a familiar face. It was the prince. He was walking with the princess, and they looked happy together. The little mermaid smiled. She was glad to see him happy. The daughters of the air saw her smile. "You have a kind heart," they said. "You will earn your immortal soul soon." The little mermaid felt hopeful. She knew she had 300 years to do good deeds. It seemed like a long time, but she was ready. She wanted to help as many people as she could. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the little mermaid continued her journey. She helped children who were lost, comforted those who were sick, and brought laughter to those who were sad. With each good deed, she felt closer to earning her immortal soul. One night, as she floated under the stars, the little mermaid felt a warm glow in her heart. She knew she was on the right path. She looked up at the sky and smiled. She was ready for whatever came next. The little mermaid's story was not over. It was just beginning. She had a new life, a new purpose, and a new hope. She was no longer just a mermaid. She was a spirit of kindness and love, floating through the sky, bringing happiness to the world. Great job sticking with the story all the way to the end. It's time to review the key ideas with a fun multiple-choice quiz. You'll find the answers in the comments section. Take your time with the questions, and don't forget to leave a comment below to let us know if you enjoyed the story. Your feedback helps us improve. If you liked it, show your support by hitting the like button. It really makes our day. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories. Thank you so much for being with us.